Well, this didn't take long. Within hours of Ricky Gervais's hilarious new Netflix special being released, the cancel culture mob is trying to finish him off, claiming that his jokes about the trans community are hurtful and damaging.
I love the new women. I know the new women. They're great, aren't they? You know, the new ones we've been seeing lately. The ones with beards and they're as good as... They're as good as gold. I love them. No, it's the old-fashioned with it. And now the old-fashioned, they go like, oh, they want to use our toilets. Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns. What about this person isn't a lady? Well, his penis. Her penis, f***ing bigot.
Well, joining me now is the filmmaker, writer and actor John Waters and trans comedian Dahlia Bell. So welcome to both of you. Dahlia, let me start with you. I watched the whole Ricky Gervais Netflix special and it was outrageous. It was very funny. It was controversial. It was laugh out loud and shocking. But ultimately, it was comedy. What do you think?
Is that a question or just your opinion?
It's my verdict on the thing. I just wondered whether, A, have you seen the whole thing, or are you reacting just to the clips that have gone around Twitter today?
Yeah, so I haven't gotten a chance to see the full thing yet. Unfortunately, only the clips, which just aren't funny. It's more a matter of boredom for me than anything else, though.
Right. I mean, let me ask you, though, do you find any jokes about the trans community funny? Or do you believe that they should...
absolutely.
I mean, I've been trying to struggle. If I was to tell a trans joke now, would you laugh if it was funny?
If it was well written and it was funny, then absolutely.
You see, this is my problem, John, because I don't think that is true. Because whenever I've tried to have fun with the trans community about any of these issues, all hell breaks loose. I had a trans activist on last week trying to talk about some of these issues and was screamed down and abuse hurled at me and so on. What do you feel about this? I mean, is Ricky Gervais, Dave Chappelle, these guys doing this stuff on Netflix, are they crossing a line, or is there not a line for comedians? Should they be allowed to effectively mock any community?
Well, here's how I get it. You know, it's a straight guy making trans jokes. And trans people, I get why they're angry. They get murdered, you know? There's nowhere for them to go to the bathroom when they're out. But I think I can make jokes about... I have in my new book a dog that believes he is trapped in the body of a cat and starts living the life of surprise with a Z, and the other pets accept him except for his facelift, because she's had a facelift that makes her look kind of the wind tunnel look like Joan Crawford. So yes, I think you can, but maybe if it's a straight guy, ask Eddie Lizard what he thinks.
Right, Eddie, yeah. I mean, Eddie would probably say you could laugh. I want to play another clip to you, if I can, Dahlia. This is also from the Ricky Gervais Netflix special. It's about why he feels he should tell trans jokes.
I talk about AIDS, famine, cancer, the Holocaust, rape, paedophilia. But no, the one thing you mustn't joke about is identity politics. The one thing you should never joke about is the trans issue, right? They just want to be treated equally. I agree. That's why I include them.
Now, you are a trans comedian, right? Is he right? Is he right to say if you're going to be genuinely inclusive, Dahlia, then you should include everyone and everything?
As long as you're original and creative with it, then sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, that to me is the bottom line. You know, when I watch the whole special, and I know how Gervais works, you know, a lot of the humour is poking fun at people and the way they go about having these debates. It's not designed to be malicious. He says in the special, he fully supports trans rights. I've seen trans comedians coming up on Twitter today saying he's always been very supportive. I don't think he's got a transphobic bone in his body. And yet within hours of this special being released, he's being bombarded with abuse and people trying to cancel him for being transphobic.
And don't they have every right to be offended and say they don't like a joke?
Well, they do, but they don't have any right to cancel him for a joke.
And if they don't like it, then I rewrite the joke.
Dave Chappelle, as you know, was nearly cancelled from Netflix by an internal uprising by Netflix employees.
He got paid $60 million. I feel so bad for him.
It wasn't successful, but you do. Yeah, but you do know there are attempts to cancel people like Chappelle, like Ricky Gervais. I just wonder whether you, as a trans comedian,
there are people saying they don't like things. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but there's a difference between saying you don't find something funny or even that you find it offensive. Of course, you can do that, but you shouldn't have to then cancel people or demand they lose their jobs. That, to me, is a line where free speech gets trashed.
Except that we also have free speech to say that we don't think someone should have a job.
All right, John, come in there.
So I think it's much easier. Like, I don't do a lot of black jokes. I'm not black. I don't do a lot of Jewish jokes. I'm not Jewish. It really helps if you are the minority that's making the joke about minority. But I do believe that everything is fair, and comedy is a cliff you walk in. When I was young, the censors were against any kind of nudity. And the censors today, on the other side, come in if you make a movie and someone's nude, they have an intimacy coach where you have to put a fake vagina over the vagina if anybody's going to have lunch downtown, because then you're not touching the real thing. So it is confusing.
Dahlia, last word to you, because I do want to have respect for the trans community. I don't want to expose the trans community to any bigotry or hatred, but I do think that part of the way through all this is for everyone to perhaps have a same sense of humour that perhaps you do about it, actually.
Perhaps. I think everyone's entitled to approach it as they see fit.
Well, let's leave it there, because I happen to agree with you. John, would you agree with that?
Are there any trans comedians? I'm trying to think of, I know a lot of gay comedians. You know, that's what I don't get. We all used to be in this together. Gay, drag queens, trans, everybody all together. Now we're fighting with each other. I think we should all just scare straight people. I try to. If I'm ever at an office party and I see a straight guy like sucking down an oyster, I tell him, that's what it's like. You know, just to make people nervous. I think gays, trans, we should just gather together and make people nervous.
I like that. There's actually a funny bit in Gervais' special where he talks about being a minority because he's a white, middle-aged multi-millionaire. And it's a funny sketch. Anyway, listen, thank you both very much to John Waters, to Dahlia Bell. It's a good debate, and hopefully we can keep laughing. That's the most important thing.